What's up, guys and girls? It's GhostRobo. We are back talking Mafia 3. I went through the video, looked at all your comments, questions, and concerns, picked some of the more prominent and popular ones, and we are going to discuss them. I also want to address a couple of other details about the game and give you guys kind of just more info and more goodies on what I played and what the game is shaping up to be. First of all, comes out October 7th, so anyone that's worried about graphics, that stuff happens towards the very end of development. So we're sitting here in April. Most likely this build had to be built a few weeks or even a month in advance. So, you know, looking at March, that's the third month. It comes out on October the 10th. So you're looking at 7 months between now and release. So many of the complaints about flickering or shadows or textures, that will all be fixed in the final version. Don't worry about that at all. Now, the lieutenants, people have questions about those guys. There is Burke, Vito, and Cassandra. All three of them have different skills that are tied to their character and tied to sort of their lore and their background. That was another complaint I saw in the comments, was that, hey, this really isn't about mafia or mobsters. It's just one guy, you know, getting revenge. But let me tell you that Lincoln actually is leading the black mob against the Italian mob, so it is still a battle between gangs. So it isn't one guy just going on a vengeance quest. Yes, he's angry. Yes, he has some people that he wants to, you know, get revenge on, but that isn't, he's not a solo operation. He has obviously the three lieutenants behind him and the support of the black mob, and there is that clash that people are looking for. A lot of other people seem to think that the video is sponsored. Again, I don't know how else to prove it to you. It's not. Legally, if the video is sponsored, I have to put it in the description. There's nothing in the description. Also, I would have loved to show you at the end of the video the gameplay without any commentary, but that was not allowed. If you notice, all of the videos that were made from this event all have commentary over them because you were not allowed to post just straight up gameplay without any editorial over it. Now to some of the more specific questions. Nairo says, what is up with we have to have eagle vision in open world games? It is crap industry bullshit. I didn't really think that it impacted that much. Now remember, I did say in the first video that you have to tap that region to unlock the ability to use eagle/detective vision. It's not a given, and it's not a must. If you don't like it, don't use it. I saw so many people complaining about tiny things. It's like, you don't even have to use that thing if you don't want to. And it seemed like people were ignoring the gameplay improvements, the story improvements, and sort of the flow improvements here, and focusing on, like, dressing the character up and the eagle vision and things that I just feel aren't really at the forefront of this game. It is definitely a new step for Mafia, but I think it's an improved step. The last game came out in the last generation. You have to make change sometimes, and you have to move forward, and I think that this does it well, and it won't leave you disappointed. It plays incredibly well, and things, you know, like sound and graphics and stuff, that all is going to be tuned as the game reaches completion and reaches that gold certified status, so don't fear there. Max Payne kind of echoes those thoughts in the comments. He said, why did they even call it Mafia? It has nothing to do with the previous games, which were about the protagonist working for the Mafia and climbing the career ladder to get out of a bad life, only loses friends and values in the process. Again, I addressed that. This really is about a guy battling two different factions here in their makeshift New Orleans, and we don't know the entire story. You still kill hundreds of people, yes, but we don't know the entire story, and sometimes it's good to change things up. I think one of the freshest, most fun things about Mafia 3 is that they have tapped into an entirely new character, an entirely new location, and an entirely new conflict. If it was just the same thing, at a certain point, guys and girls, we have to evolve and move forward and progress, and I think that it's really cool that they are trying a different kind of tale, and like I mentioned, some of the ways that they go about accomplishing that with the documentary-style cutscenes are really cool, and I think you'll learn to like them a lot as you get to play the game for yourself. Let's see. Thomas Hunter wants to know, hey, Ghost, is there any hand-to-hand combat? Yes, there is. It's pretty simplistic, but you can go up and beat people up with fisticuffs. You will stun them. That's where sort of those brutal executions, the brutal takedowns come in. You can't just beat people up. You can stun them, knock them back, and then shoot them, or you can stun them and execute one of those finishers. It was pretty tricky to do during what I played. They said they were going to try and tone it down a little bit because, like, literally it required extreme precision. That's why I was the only person able to pull it off during the demo. But it still was a fun way to finish enemies off, and they had some really cool and brutal animations. I saw some people wanting for more blood. This game is incredibly brutal. Just because it's not splattering blood like Doom or Gears doesn't mean that it is definitely, it definitely is not for kids, and it definitely is the mature game you are seeking. A lot of people want to know, why is it all the same gameplay? Because we were all given the same gameplay. We were not allowed to capture our own, but we all did get to play over 2 hours of the game. Let's see. People again saying, Martin said that this is not Mafia. Change the name and be a good game. That doesn't make any sense to me, guys. If it is a good game, who cares what it's called? I know the Mafia franchise in the past has meant something, but again, many years have passed, a whole console generation, different developer, and we're looking to evolve gaming and games. That's a good thing, so we should be welcoming new changes. And sure, if the game turns out to be bad, then okay, yeah, it's bad and we can complain then. But you're saying that the game would be good if it had a different name. That doesn't even make sense, because a good game should be a good game no matter what it's called. Looking through and seeing, it sounds like there's 9 districts. That's what people are saying, so I overshot that a little bit. And you can split them up, but again, the rackets and the hideouts you can give individually to the different characters. And from what I've heard and from what I've read and from what I learned from being there and playing the game, you will lock out certain items. So I'm just going to make it up. I don't know that this is the exact unlock order, but say that you choose to give a series of hideouts to Burke and Vito and not to Cassandra. Perhaps you lose the opportunity to get a specific weapon, or to get, say, that the really cool voodoo doll that will, you know, scream and attract attention. So there are definitely consequences from a story standpoint and then from a gameplay item standpoint, and they are forcing you to choose either or, which I love. A lot of games in recent memory have done this, like, you can get everything approach, which is fine and fun, but I think having choice and difference in playthroughs is really critical to delivering a memorable and really, like, a game that you can talk about, right? The story experience here, you will be able to discuss with your friends and be like, oh, I had that. I gave this hideout in that district to this person, and I gave it to this person. And it sounded like there was some system to reassign as well, or things like that possibly, which sounds pretty cool. And I think in general, again, highlighting that lieutenant system, the underboss system, is going to be one of the cruxes of what makes this game either like amazingly great or just very good. From what I saw, still 7 months out, and granted, things can change, but it is really cool, really good, and I think on track to be a pretty nice showpiece from a gameplay, story, and graphic standpoint. Obviously, there are things that will be tidied up and polished before launch, but do know that for where it's at right now, it looks really good, and I saw more districts in my gameplay than have been shown, and they looked cool and good. And there's some interesting variety within that as well. So you'll have a very rich district, and one of the systems that they talked about is that people will react to you differently depending on where they are. So you're sort of this war-torn, rough, and rugged guy, and so in the very wealthy district, they may turn their nose up at you, and even if you don't do anything, you know, say mean things to you or get out of your way. But as you move through maybe a poorer district, that will change, or maybe an industrial district, the swamplands, that will all be different. So there is a heavy focus on environmental interaction and reaction to you, and that wasn't really shown off in this gameplay, but it was shown off in what I played. And if you go back to the earlier gameplay revealed last year, you'll see more of that dynamic crowd sort of dynamic event, environment interaction, city life-like feel that you're looking for. I saw a lot of people in the comments being like, hey, this feels very barren. But there are people, and they do stuff. It just wasn't highlighted in these specific videos. Some of the more specific questions in terms of, can you put on suits? Will you be able to do this or that? I don't know. Everything wasn't being discussed, and like I said, the entire collectible system was omitted from this demo and was not being talked about, and I'm sure there's more that they will reveal as they lead up to launch. They got to save some stuff for E3, because this will obviously be one of 2K's pinnacle titles for fall 2016, so I'm sure they will reveal more on that. In terms of the gasoline thing, I saw someone inquire about that in cars. I didn't see anything that would indicate you need gas for cars. I think they tried to make that system a little bit more player-friendly, and same for the license plate system. Now, the police were very aggressive in their tracking of you. I'm not sure if they remember your license plate. I do remember that being a cool feature in Mafia 2, but I don't know if that's something that's carried over to Mafia 3 or not. I don't think it's really the biggest of deals. I still think at the end of the day, you are going to get the Mafia mobster, gangster experience that you desire. It seemed like through all the comments, what people didn't like And obviously, lots of comments of what people did like, but I'm trying to address the ones that were more asking questions or concerned about things. It seemed like it was because they wanted more of a gangster experience, and they thought this was just going to turn into like a superhero game where you're just this one-man army, or not really have that vibe or story.
You will take
those different notes in the storyline, the plot that would make it feel like that, and it will, and possibly even more so, because here you're actually running and interacting and controlling your group. So your underbosses, your lieutenants, Burke, Vito, and Cassandra, you're having direct impact on how the structure of your mob works, and therefore that puts you even more in that mob boss gangster role and vibe and experience than before, because now you're actually making choices as the leader, assigning things to your underbosses, your lieutenants, and getting rewards, money, perks, items because of the choices that you made. So you're having even more of that sort of tried and true gangster mobster experience that you seek, and it does come through in the storylines. There was only one cutscene shown here, and it involved a tertiary character interacting in a mafia way, but Lincoln does as well. In the cutscenes I saw with Lincoln, he had some really cool meetings. The meetings like with the lieutenants were very intense and very mobster-like, and he also met with some of his different sort of helper characters and NPCs that were doing different work for him. One guy was sort of spying on people and helping him decide where to go next and infiltrate this racket, the construction racket that I discussed in the previous video. So all of that is there, and hopefully that assuages your fears a bit. It's not just this one-man army vengeance show that perhaps the trailer gave off. He really does have a crew, and he really is building that up, and it really is black mob versus Italian mob. That's how the game sort of begins, and Lincoln is looking for revenge, but within the greater context of these warring factions. And again, you're going to have a huge impact and direct input on how that goes based on how you assign, to Burke and Vito, and they represent different factions as well. Cassandra's from the black mob, and then Vito and Burke have their own sort of identity in their own groups as well that they're bringing to the table, and disappointing or displeasing them may turn that on you and change the dynamics of your operation. So I think a lot of the concerns really, once you play more and see more, will be fixed. But the one about like, oh, it doesn't look a lot like Mafia, it really is like Mafia, and new stuff is always welcome. Gears of War 4 is coming out later this year, and I really enjoyed Gears 1, 2, and 3. But one of the directors for the game said that they were thinking of making a brand new Gears 4 that had all new characters, all new locations, all new weapons, all new enemies, and I thought that sounded great. And then they decided that they were afraid of fan pushback and backlash, so they decided to go with a much more safe and steady approach and make it Marcus Phoenix's son, an enemy type that is new but very much like the Locust, most of the same weapons, same multiplayer, yada yada yada. I think at a certain point we have to embrace change and evolution, and some of these series have been going on for over a decade, so it's like, let's allow the developers to be creative. Usually the best things come out of creativity and a little bit of chaos and a little bit of shifting things around and mixing, stirring the pot. The BioShock franchise, the Assassin's Creed franchise, the Arkham Batman franchise, the Mafia franchise, the Grand Theft Auto franchise, the Horizon franchise, the Last of Us. Those were at one point new, and some of them get very stale when they stay the same. So I'm applauding developers who are willing to take risks, as long as they're smart risks. And I can tell you from playing the game that the risks here, so far, from what I've seen and played, are smart, and I think you will like them, and I think it will be a rewarding experience come October 7th. So hopefully that answers a lot of your questions and fears and concerns. A lot of people seem to really like the game and enjoyed Lincoln as a character, enjoyed the shooting, thought it looked awesome, thought it visually looked cool. That all is great as well. I just want to kind of address the ones that were more concerned. The driving model is a little bit wobbly. I do wish it was tighter, but that's what they're going for, and I think it ties into the fact that this is an older era with older cars, so you're either going to like it or not, but I didn't find it to be distracting or detrimental to the experience. So yeah, I know there were some more specific questions that I didn't have exact answers to, but if I do get more info, or I do play more of it, or I do see it again at E3, I will definitely let you guys know. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for participating in the discussion. I think Mafia 3 is going to be really good, and I'm saying that just on my own impressions and experience. There was no exchange of like, hey, say good things and you get to play the game. They asked me if I wanted to see the game. I said sure, and then there was an embargo, and I could make a video or not make a video, and I did. and now I'm making one just addressing you guys, because I think it's important to involve, have it be a back and forth, not just me spitting info at you, but also receiving your impressions and your take and your ideas and your thoughts and your questions, and giving it back based on what I know, and hopefully addressing a lot of you guys' feedback. If you guys enjoyed that and this, let me know in the comments. Hit that thumbs up button. I can do more of these for more games I see. I think it'd be kind of cool to involve more of a community discussion with games I get to play early, and then I can basically bring your questions directly to the developer, either again ask them, or if I already know it and didn't feel like mentioning it or didn't think to mention it, now I can address it. So hopefully this was a cool video for you. Thanks so much for watching. Fantastic day. Drink so much. Until next time, everybody, I love you so much, and we will see you all later.